I'm a full-time tennis coach who's worked for over 24 years. I've delivered over 36,000 tennis lessons. I've basket-fed millions of tennis balls. But yet only a couple of my players reached international and national level tennis. If you believe that basket feeding and isolated practice is the most efficient and effective way to coach tennis, well, I'm going to share with you 5 brutal reasons why basket feeding doesn't work. Honest truth number 1, basket drilling looks great, but there's a lack of transfer. So the problem that I encounter with basket feeding is it looks really good. I would isolate at practice, get my player to replicate and repeat a forehand over and over again. And let's say I give my player 100 forehands. The first few forehands will be a little bit ropey, but by forehand 97, 98, 99, 100, it looks really good. However, the turning point was when I put my player back into a practice match at the end of a session, that forehand would quickly disappear. The problem is when you put the forehand into an open and dynamic environment, it's actually a different skill. The real quick fix for this is just practice your forehand within the context of the game. Can you get your player to repeat the forehand action, but in multiple different ways? This is what we call repetition without repetition. Honest truth number 2, you're not coaching decision making. By feeding from the basket, the coach controls everything. Where, when, how to feed the ball in, where the player should hit the ball, and what type of action the player should use. The coach is controlling all the action and decision making. However, once again, when my players got into match situations, they couldn't make decisions. They couldn't problem solve in real time. After every mistake and every error, they would turn around for me for the solution. This made me realize that the way I was coaching my players was wrong. I was giving them solutions, I was taking away their creativity and problem solving, and I quickly adapted how I coached. More decisions, more problems, less basket feeding. Honest lesson number 3, players become addicted to information. Now, as a traditional tennis coach, I thought it was my job to keep constantly giving players information. Turn your shoulders, racket low to high, finish over your shoulder. I became a commentary coach. Every little error I seen, I detected and I made sure my players knew about it. But once again, when my players got into matches, they couldn't problem solve in real time. They constantly looked at either myself or parents for information. Unfortunately, the majority of the time, I wasn't at competitions. I was back at the club running my tennis program. Therefore, the player had no way of getting information when they're at a match. They couldn't rely on themselves because they weren't very good problem solvers or decision makers. Now, when I coach my players, it's very simple. I don't give information. I create problems. The player themselves has to find the solution. Honest lesson number 4, through basket drilling, I was rewarding my players with compliance. If they followed my instructions, I'd be sure to give them lots of praise. When drills looked neat and tidy, I believe learning was taking place. My player felt good, I felt good, the parents at the side of the court, they also felt good. But what we have to understand is learning is messy, it's chaotic. If it looks too good, learning's probably not taking place. You see, learning takes place in the uncomfortable moments. In a match situation, when things were a little bit chaotic and unbalanced, my players once again didn't know how to adapt. They were so used to success. When failure happened, they didn't know how to respond. Racket abuse, swear words, frustration, and even tears. I quickly realised that by making my practices really easy, allowing players just to be compliant was not preparing them for the demands of the game. Honest lesson number 5, it was all about me and not the player. When I was basket feeding, I felt in complete control. I could express my biomechanical, my tactical, my technical knowledge. I looked like the expert. I used to always say the tennis lesson is my show. It's my space. I am the star. I was in full control of everything. Tennis is not about the coach, it's about the player. The coach should not be putting on a performance. The coach should allow the player the room to learn. Real coaching is not about control. It's about letting go. Ask yourself a very simple question. Am I coaching to allow learning to take place, or am I just coaching for control? If you're a coach like me and you want to try and unlearn everything that you've been taught, please check out the video on the screen now in which I take you through 20 of my most valuable lessons as a tennis coach.